Every musician, content creator, and creative person knows that the tools that they use to create can make or break their workflow. I have spent the last 3 years with a $3,000 overglorified paperweight. This is my MacBook Pro repair experience. Hey guys, Dani here, and welcome to my little corner of the internet. This whole story started back in 2016 when Apple announced their brand new MacBook Pro. It had a brand new keyboard design called the butterfly keys, USB-C all around, and no SD card reader. That was the moment I knew that I wanted to hang on to my 2015 MacBook Pro for dear life at all costs. I have always been fortunate in that my parents have done whatever they can to help me keep up in school despite my learning disabilities. So at 16 years old, I got my very first MacBook Pro with all of the same programs that were being used in my music classes and my media arts classes in high school at the time, so that I would be able to take all of my work home and complete it, because everything takes me longer to do because of my learning disabilities, and I would not be able to keep up otherwise. When I got into university, I was able to use the bursary for students with disabilities to get an iMac for pretty much the same reason, except now that I was doing film and other more intensive things, I needed a more beefed up computer. So basically what my workflow became was that my main computer, my iMac, was at home. It was the more powerful computer. And then I would bring my MacBook Pro to school in order to either edit things while we were doing work periods in class and or just get all of my other work done and have my assistive technology on both a stationary computer and on a mobile computer that I could take with me. Now that I am done school, I have much of the same workflow. My iMac is my main computer, and my MacBook I use for when I don't want to work in my room, or I need to go meet with other people, or I am traveling, or I want to work at a co-working space or collaborate with other creators. That is what my MacBook Pro is for, as my mobile workstation, and then my iMac sits as my main at-home workstation. So all of the problems began at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018. This would have been my final year of university and my final semester of university. I don't quite remember my initial problem with my 2015 MacBook Pro, but I did find a conversation that I had at the bottom of one of Painfully Honest Tech's video where I was discussing what happened. So according to that comment, there was a graphical issue where my video would split diagonally in half and then display itself in a weird diagonal way. I'm sure I have documentation of this somewhere. I am going to try and find that and post footage of that for you so you can see what I'm talking about. I am going to assume that the way that Apple went about fixing the issue is to replace both my graphics card as well as my logic board, if I remember correctly. When I received my computer back, I don't know what they did or how they did it, but as soon as I got my computer back, it told me that there was a battery issue. So obviously I had to bring my computer back again. Once they fixed the battery issue, they somehow managed to knock out the Bluetooth in my computer, and so now I couldn't use Bluetooth. So now my computer needed to be fixed again. This was beyond frustrating, because imagine being in your final year, in your final semester of university, and your mobile work machine doesn't do the one thing that you needed to do. Being in film made me have to be able to use graphics. It's not like I could just be writing essays on my MacBook. No. I needed to be editing videos, editing photos, doing graphic design to complete my degree. So this was just straight devastating and incredibly frustrating for me. After going back and forth with Apple, they said that they would replace the computer since they have broken it twice at this point, and I really could not afford for them to break it again doing another repair. What I wanted was another 2015 MacBook Pro, because I had heard a lot of the issues that were happening with the butterfly keyboard, and quite frankly, I didn't have a lot of USB-C compatible things, and it was really just not the time for me to completely switch like the different ports and whatever I had to use when I'm, again, in my final semester, the final weeks of school, and you need to change absolutely everything that you're doing. Apparently, well, not even apparently, obviously, 2 years down the line, actually 3 years at that point, so we're in 2018, Apple no longer made any 2015 MacBook Pros, and apparently they didn't have any in any kind of warehouse anywhere. So what they offered me was a 2017 MacBook Pro. I nervously agreed because, again, I was worried about all these keyboard issues that I was hearing about, but since I didn't have an extra $3,000 lying around that I could put on a credit card for them to hold, and then they could send me the new MacBook first, and then I could send them the old MacBook, what I had to do was send them my old MacBook, wait for them to get it. Once they received it, they would send me the new 2017 MacBook Pro. By this time, I was done university when all of this was happening. I was now working for a theater company for the summer, and I was going to go to Nashville for a 3-month music program to finish up that degree. So Apple had assured me that this process would take about a week and a half max. And I reiterated to them that I was working. I was the media manager for this theater company for the summer, which means that I was editing all of their social media, all of their photos, all of their theater performance videos, the whole 9 yards. AKA, I really needed my MacBook in order to work. Yes, I had an iMac at home, but obviously I'm working in an office that I have to go to every day. So I need a portable machine. I thought that, you know what, I can go a week, I can set everything up that I need to, I'll do most of my work at home for the week, bring my iPad to work, do mostly just like the written posts and stuff for all of that for that week. Everything will be fine. So I shipped out my 2015 MacBook Pro. And guess what happened? Apple somehow lost my computer. And like I said, when you're doing this exchange situation, Apple cannot send you your new computer until they receive the old computer. And now my old computer was lost. By the time that Apple had even found my computer, they actually had released the 2018 MacBook Pro, which is what led to the conversation under that YouTube video, which you can pause to read. I'll put it up here. Because I was trying to say that if the 2017 MacBook was having so many problems with the keyboard, could I potentially convince Apple to actually give me the newest one, the 2018 MacBook Pro, in hopes that it wouldn't have such issues? Little did I know that that would be the least of my worries in this entire situation. So by the time I finally got the 2017 MacBook Pro, it was just a few short days before I was leaving to Nashville for the 3-month intensive music program to finish up my music degree. If I remember correctly, I got that computer 4 days before I left. And about a week after I got this computer, so now I am in the United States as a Canadian with this brand new MacBook, and the screen begins to die. At first, I was like, you know what, this isn't a big deal because Apple has a 14-day return policy. So I can just get a ride to the nearest Apple store, exchange the computer for a new one, and it'll be fine. Well, apparently Apple Canada and Apple USA do not cooperate with each other. So if you buy, I didn't use my own money, but I essentially bought a computer in Canada, it did not qualify to be exchanged in that 14-day window in the US. They would service it. So if I went to the Genius Bar, they would try and help me as best as they can. Obviously, between countries, that isn't as big of a deal unless there's a repair that needs to be done. But in terms of trying to exchange this laptop, because obviously it's not working, I could not do anything. So I basically had to spend the next 3 months without a working laptop as the screen began to die more and more and more and more. Among a host of other issues that I will put up here as I am talking for you to see what I was experiencing. It was so bad that I actually had to get my parents to spend a great ton of money shipping my iMac from Canada to Nashville in order for me to complete this program because I didn't have a working computer. The two main issues besides the screen, which obviously got fixed pretty much as soon as I got home, they replaced the screen. That wasn't a big issue once I got home, but obviously it's a big issue if you can't see half of your screen. You cannot work on a computer with only half a screen. But the two main issues after that were, one, there was another graphical issue where basically what was happening is, say I watched a video today and then I watch a different video tomorrow. For whatever reason, flashes of the video from yesterday would be intermittently flashing as I'm watching the video from tomorrow. I don't know if that made sense, but that's what was happening. My most hilarious example of this, which if I can find it, I will put it up here on the screen for you guys, was that I actually watched the Shane Dawson documentary on Jake Paul one day, and then the next day I watched Making a Murderer on Netflix, and my computer was intermittently going between this Making a Murderer show with flashes of Jake Paul and Shane Dawson, as basically Shane Dawson is calling Jake Paul a psychopath. It was actually quite amusing for the first 3 seconds, but then obviously this constantly happening was extremely annoying. And again, as a person who works with graphics things, so I do a lot of videos and video editing, I do a lot of graphic design, having a graphical issue is a problem. The second major issue that was happening with this computer is that it had some kind of memory issue where it would tell me that a page was using too much memory and would reload the page constantly. So say I'm watching a YouTube video, it's constantly reloading the page. Say I'm say I'm filling out a form online, it's constantly reloading the page. And because for whatever reason it feels like this is using way too much memory, it was draining my battery super fast. So if I were to actually leave the house with my MacBook without a charger, I would only get about 2-ish hours of battery life, even doing the most mundane tasks on my computer. So in essence, this was once again a $3,000 paperweight, and we're on laptop number 2. So this took me from August 2018 to September of 2019, so just a few months ago, for me to convince Apple to replace this paperweight once again. And because of all of the hullabaloo that I had to go through and basically go a year without a computer and spend a lot of money shipping an iMac, which weighs so much, So it is very, very expensive to ship it to separate countries, and Nashville is closer to the bottom of the US. So it's not even like, oh, it's New York, like 2 hours away from Toronto. No. This was far. They decided to up the base RAM on the computer from 8 gigabytes to 16 gigabytes. This is how I actually discovered that the last laptop, so laptop number 2, had a RAM issue. When I initially got this new laptop, so this is now laptop number 3, this is a 2019 MacBook Pro. And at first, everything was great. I was so relieved. I'm like, finally, a computer that works. Until this application is using too much memory, error message would come up and it would reload again. Mind you, this happened far, far less than it did on my old computer. This is again how I discovered that it's a RAM issue. So essentially what is happening is if I look at my activity monitor, say, let's take YouTube as an example. If I keep that one particular tab of YouTube open, say I'm watching videos passively all day, it'll go from taking a normal, let's say 500 megabytes of memory to run that particular tab. It'll start going up to 1 gigabyte, 2 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes, 4 gigabytes throughout the day. And so, obviously, if that's happening with every single app, if I have Messenger open all day, or if I have Notes open, or if I have Safari open all day, at some point, it's going to take up all of the memory and make me have to reload everything. Because this new laptop, the 2019 MacBook, has double the memory, essentially, this happens basically half as much as it did on the old laptop. Thankfully, this is the only issue on this computer. I now know what the issue is, so I can work around it. If I pretty much only keep one app open and I periodically close it and reopen it, I can do work on this computer. At the very least, I am thankful that this computer does not have any graphical issues, knock on wood, that I know of, and hopefully will never have any graphical issues. So it is a lot more useful than my other 2 previous laptops. But this does mean that I have gone through 3 MacBooks in 3 years. And as much as I am truly grateful that this computer works a lot better than those other 2 did, it's kind of ridiculous that I am spending $3,000 on a laptop, a high-end, quote-unquote, professional laptop, and have had to go through this many issues. Imagine if I didn't have an iMac. Seriously. I would not have graduated. I could not get a job. I could not do anything if I didn't have the privilege of having an iMac paid for through government grants because of my learning disabilities. What would I have done then? And I know some of you might go into the comments and say, well, in that situation, you can go work at the library and do your work other places and here and there. I cannot do that. For me, like I said, and I've said many times on this channel, I have learning disabilities. And having learning disabilities means not only does everything, all of my work, everything that I do in life, take me longer than the average neurotypical person, but I also have specialized software and programs on my computer that help me with my learning disabilities. So I have text-to-speech software, I have speech-to-text software, I have a whole bunch of other different softwares that are kind of hard to explain, but they all help me to speed up the process of me doing work to try and get a little bit closer to what the average student would need to complete the work. Let me give you an example of a typical day when I was in my final year of school for me. I would have my first class at 10:30 a.m. that went until 11:30 a.m. Then I would have another class from 11:50 a.m. to 12:50 p.m. Then I would go to work for 1:30 and be done at 5:30. And then I would have another class, my final night class, from 6:30 until 10:30 p.m. The library at my school was opened until midnight every day. That would leave me about an hour and a half to get all of my work done if I didn't have access to my personal iMac. On top of the fact that I wouldn't have access to any of my assistive technology whatsoever to complete this work. If somebody pays for a machine, a device, to get their work done, it should work. Anyone who knows me knows I love Apple. I am literally wearing an Apple shirt right now. I love Apple. And it's because I love Apple that I am making this video. They need to do better. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know why, if it's just like me having all of these problems, or if other people are having such a multitude of problems with the newer MacBook Pros. But to me, it is completely unacceptable for me to have to go 3 years without a working computer. And even technically right now, my MacBook does not work properly. I have to change the way I work to accommodate a piece of machinery because it doesn't function the way it's intended to function. And no, it's not, And before anyone asks, no, it is not some bug or something that could have come from me restoring onto my MacBook each and every time. I have never done a restore from backup, even though I do back up my computers just for safety. I have never ever restored from a backup. I have always kept it like as a brand new computer whenever I either erase and reinstall the operating system and or got a new computer. On top of the fact that my iMac also has the same software, all the same programs on the computer, and I don't have these problems. And actually my iMac only has 8 gigabytes of RAM, and pretty much have never had any problems with this particular iMac. So clearly it is an issue somewhere within the MacBook Pro. I don't know what's different between the two that could cause this issue, but there is an issue. And I have all of this stuff documented. It's well documented. I have crash logs. I have absolutely everything. So if Apple wants to reach out to me, I'm more than willing to give them all of that so they can figure out what is going on. But for me, especially in October, especially in Learning Disability Awareness Month, I felt the need to speak about my experience because something as simple as an inconvenience in your computer can be devastating to someone with learning disabilities. I need my assistive technology to function. And Apple has always stood for having accessible technology. They have a whole suite of accessibility features on their devices, and that is awesome. Most companies don't. Most phones don't. This is part of the reason why I love Apple, part of the reason why I've always looked up to Steve Jobs. He also had a learning disability. I don't know how many people knew that. But even something as simple as the font used throughout the software on Apple is specifically designed to be more readable for people with learning disabilities like me. So those are the little things that make me want to use these products. Those are the things that are the reason why I don't use an Android phone or I don't use a Windows machine, because I don't have access to that same stuff just on a base level. And then on top of that, I also have specialized assistive technology that would cost me a whole lot of money to have to move from Mac to PC, because I would have to rebuy it, and there are thousands and thousands of dollars worth of equipment. So honestly, I feel like Apple needs to do something about this. This is a major problem. It is affecting people. It is affecting lives. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to have a secondary computer that I could use to get most of my work done. But there are a lot of people out there who have to scrimp and save just to get their first computer, whether it is a MacBook, whether it is a Windows machine, whatever it may be. People have to scrimp and save, especially those with disabilities, because on top of buying a computer, we also have to buy thousands and thousands of dollars of assistive technology. And for that not to work, we cannot function. So I hope that you guys are educated a little bit through this video. I hope that somehow this gets to Apple and they can figure out a way to fix whatever is going on. And I hope that I raised a little bit of awareness today. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, share it, and click that subscribe button. It does help my channel to grow and lets me know that I should continue to make content because I love doing it. I will see you guys next week. I have some really exciting videos coming up for you. Some really exciting news is happening super soon in my life, and I can't wait to share all of these things with you. So I'll see you guys again next week. Bye.